Thank you for booking a call. This video is going to guide you on kind of our expectations or how the framework of our call is going to proceed when you get to sit down and go over what you're up to, what we're going to do to try to hopefully help you. Now, just to give you a reference, on the call, we are going to give you this exact framework for your situation. So even if it doesn't make sense for us to work together initially, we're still going to leave you on the call with some valuable information to make it worth your time. My name is Kirk. I'm the founder of Waldensia Virtual Family Office. And what we do is we come in and partner with high net worth individuals, business owners, founders, or solopreneurs. And over the last 10 years, I've been able to develop a framework by deduction, not adding new things, but getting down to the brass tacks of what moves the needle for business owners or high net worth individuals. And it's summed up in this jumbled circle here. So let me break this down for you. So we're going to sit down on the call. We're going to ask questions much like a physician. What are you up to? What are your pain points? Where are you currently at? Where are you looking to go? And this framework will address whether you're doing $500,000 a year or you're doing $30 million a year. It's agnostic to revenue. And so that is the framework of using principles. Principles work at a low level and a high level. They work in Arizona, they work in India, they work in California or Texas. So let's jump right into this framework. We're assuming you're on the call. We've got to learn about your business, and then the GPS method is the framework we're going to use to highlight the solutions and long-term achievements that you're looking for. So this is like a system that if you don't use one of these, if you neglect one of these three, you're going to be off balance. So you can have growth and you can have protection, but if we don't have succession or passing our assets to our beneficiaries or our children, what did we really do with our life? If we have protection of assets and we do have a succession plan, but we don't have assets to give, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Or what we see mostly is we see growth in companies that are doing well, but they don't protect their assets and they have no estate plan or succession plan. So today I'm going to show you how to integrate all three of these so you can make sure your business, your family, and everything that you leave when you're done from here is cohesive and makes sense. So let's focus on growth. Growth is whether you're a high net W-2 or employment with a side hustle, or it's you're a business founder. So the first thing that we always focus on is cash flow management. This is by far the biggest needle mover in a company, is managing free cash flow. It's what sinks companies. Good companies will sink from lack of cash flow management. So we use a proprietary software. You manage it from your phone, from a mobile device. You own it, you control it, and it eliminates the need for budgeting. Budgeting does not work. Certified financial planners used to have to do budgeting, and then they realized through all of their sequence and working with clients don't do budgeting well. Most people have a spreadsheet that needs to be updated. They got raises but didn't account for it, or they grew their company by 20%. And so really what cash flow management is going to do is it's going to meet you right where you're at with your distributions in your company, your paycheck if you're W-2, and it's going to eliminate the confusion on what to do with your money once you get it. Do we scale and buy another vehicle? Do we pour money into another property? Do we put more money into a child's college savings? All cash flow management stems from here and guides you in making financial decisions, not off of emotion, but of actual numbers through a system. So every one of our clients uses this software, and it has been an absolute game changer for our clients. I use it personally as the founder of our company. And so that is number one in growth. The second thing in growth is once we manage cash flow really well, we look at optimizing the business. Now, I am not your personal business coach, but what we're going to be doing is looking at your business as your best investment that you own. Superior to the stock market, superior to real estate. you are the best investment for your family. You get all the people to show up, you do all the management, and you ultimately are the captain of the ship. And this ship, for a lot of our founders, is the cash cow. So look at optimizing the cash cow. Then, and only then, after we have an amazing cash flow system, an amazing business that either gets new investment for management or operations or growth, then we look at the investing. Investing is pretty easy. Our business owners, their businesses are the cash cow, so they like to invest in their business. So investing is the last place we look on the growth side, and we're looking at investing as mainly the cherry on top of our life. We know our companies grow, we know we're managing cash flow, and if I didn't mention it, I'm just going to mention it again if I didn't. We are seeing people save 23% more annually just by using cash flow management. So what happens is once we run the calculators, we see that they make more money from cash flow management than their investments. And so that's why this order of operations is here. But let's move on over into protection. So we're assuming now that we're optimized, we're assuming now that our business is doing great and humming along, producing great cash flow, and we're assuming that our basic investments are plugging along, protected. Now we're over here into the protection side. So you're running your company, everything is dialed, and then we get hit with a medical emergency. The largest cause of filing bankruptcy in the United States, and there's not a close second, is medical bankruptcy. So now we have to talk about liquidating our assets. We have to talk about getting rid of things in order for the state to help if there's Medicare involved or things of that nature or financial assistance. And really, this is where liens get attached. This is where we start to sink because we don't have protection. So what we do to make sure our growth is good is we look at the protection. In the first place we look is your corporate structure. And what we do is we optimize. We look at how you're being taxed. We look at your corporate governance. Are you filing your annual documentation to keep your corporate veil compliant? Newsflash, a lot of business owners are not keeping their LLCs in order. They're not filing the correct documentation. They have their home address as their personal, for public purview. So with our corporate structure optimization, we go in and we bring anonymity. We look at places like Wyoming or Delaware or Nevada to structure our LLCs. We create the anonymity and then we make sure our corporate structure is compliant. So if a lawsuit is presented, you maintain corporate veil and you isolate the damage to the entity, not your personal assets. Now, in the cases of fraud, if somebody's claiming fraud against your company, against your business, they actually set the entity aside. And so even if you maintain your company well, do all the documentation, have the anonymity, they will set the LLC aside and remove the corporate veil in fraud. And so that can be a problem if you didn't do fraud and they're claiming fraud. So in protection, that's the first place we look. And I don't want to get too far into that, but we optimize your corporate structure. There's a lot of crazy advice out there online about how to have 50 LLCs and craziness. A lot of that can be diminished with a proper structure. The next thing that we're going to look at in your corporate structure is your actual tax plan. Now, right now, if you've clicked on this and you've come through our process, through one of our ads or whatever source, you're probably getting hit with other ads. You're probably getting other people saying, we want to do your taxes. And that's fine. I totally get that. But this is where they stop. They don't come over into the growth, and they definitely don't come over into your succession. So tax planning for business owners is the largest needle mover. On your balance sheet, your tax bill is your biggest expense. Most people are getting their CPAs or accountants. They're telling them to go spend money on equipment to depreciate so you don't have to pay taxes. Well, when was the last time spending $1 to save 60 cents made sense? It doesn't. In order to make sense, you have to make sense. So tax planning is a very big part of protection because it's such a big line item to send 30 to 40% of your wealth away, but you have to couple it with growth and you have to couple it with succession. So the last piece of protection is actually risk management. Is your company subject to a lot of risk? Do you have proper insurances in place? Do you have proper protections in place, proper documentation or contracts in place? Do you have an airplane? You know, airplanes go down. We hear issues of airplanes. And so how are we holding title to airplanes? If that airplane did have an issue, how would that airplane affect our personal life, our business, and our estate? Okay. So after protection, we have to now look, therefore, in the succession plan or the estate plan. So what there is in estate planning while you're alive, it is your trust. How do you implement trusts into your life, into your business, and into your family's legacy? So there's over 90 different types of trusts out there. We're not going to get into the depths of what trusts are. Really, we're just going to talk about that a trust, properly structured, allows you to hold your hands up and say, I don't own anything. So when you own something, there's two things attached to that. The first thing is liability. You own the property in your name under your LLC. Well, you're responsible for any issues. I know of a person who had a bar stool at their Airbnb, and it was a chintzy IKEA bar stool, and it busted, and the person broke their head and had to go to the hospital, and it resulted in a massive lawsuit against the entity. And so he was on the hook for that personally because he owned the asset in his personal name. Outside of the actual liability, now we have what is called your tax liability, your tax responsibility from you wanting to own it, saying, I own the property. You don't want to say, I own the property. You want to be able to say, I manage the property, but I'm not the owner. You do that through proper trust and estate planning. And I'll point you to, for your free time, if you get bored, go on to ChatGPT or Grok and say, give me the exact breakdown of the owner of Patagonia, the outdoor company. Give me the reason why he sold his company into trusts. What did that do for him for the benefits? And it'll start to shed light on why somebody who has $4 billion in a company use trusts to manage their assets. So the trust is a very critical part in setting up your estate, growing your assets, and actually having a tax plan for your trusts. Outside of once your estate is set up and dialed in and assets are placed there to allow you to hold your hands up and say, I don't own that stuff. The next thing is, what do we do with those assets? Well, this is where we have family governance. This is where we bring on your children. This is where we bring on your brother-in-laws or your brother or your trusted family. Could even be outside. Could be your best friend from college who you really trust. Could be your friend from church. So we bring up family governance. How does this stuff, that's what an estate is, it's stuff. How does this stuff get moved? What happens to the income? What happens with college planning for the grandchildren? What happens with, the house, the second property after we're gone? This is all in family governance that we tackle and help not just you as the founder taking the leap to put all this in place, but actually how do you start to train your children? And at our company, Waldensia Virtual Family Office, we don't just work with you, we bring the children in who are the beneficiaries, we bring in successor trustees to help manage your estate, and we make it all cohesive. The last piece is legacy. What do you want to do with the stuff while you're alive? Is there incomes firing off to charities? Is there a local church that you like to support for their building project, their projects or their missions? What do you want your legacy to be? Mainly with your family. When your grandchildren look back and say, great grandpa so-and-so, what are they going to say? And this legacy aspect is where we focus on helping you actually build your legacy. Is it that you stacked up 1,500 apartment doors, so there's always income for the family? Is it that you got into oil and gas and you secured oil and mineral rights for the family so every generation doesn't have to start over? So that is the last piece of the legacy. Now, like I said at the beginning, if you have growth, but you don't have protection, you have a lot of risk on the table. If you have growth and protection, but you don't have a legacy piece with an estate allowing you for maximum tax efficiency, potentially eliminating estate taxes, well then now you kind of still have a problem. So where you want to be is right here in the middle. You want to have your growth with cash flow management, you want to have protection with your proper corporate structure and tax planning, and you want to have your personal estate structured. And when you combine all of those, that is the GPS method. Now, everybody on our team is well aware of this method. A virtual family office eliminates the need to go to 10 different people to manage what you're doing in your life. With a virtual family office, it's one place, one roof, with trusted professionals understanding your entire situation. So I hope this makes sense for you. I look forward to you booking the call. I look forward to you on the call. And like I said, if you're on the call and this doesn't make sense or you're not ready yet, I'm just gonna say go ahead and book it. Make sure to show up on your call, because we're gonna give you value. We're gonna see what you're up to and potentially be able to guide you to avoid some of these massive mistakes in these 3 areas. So thank you for watching the video. I look forward to meeting you, and we'll see you on the call.